What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to GmiasWorld Podcast. We're going to be jumping into NFL Week 13 recap, and I'm going to tell you this right now. The Bears and Trubisky, dog, they were able to pull us out against the Lions, and I know many of you guys are like, yo, who's this guy, Blow, or whatever his name is or whatever, but he looked pretty good, and it was a very, very intense game, and I know that most people are going to still be all over this guy Trubisky, but you have to admit this, though. As much as you might hate him, or you might not think he's a good quarterback, he made some really, really clutch plays down the stretch in that game that allowed them to win it. And, ultimately, you got to give credit where it's due. The Bears' defense, though, is very, very disgusting. And if you play fantasy, you know, like I know, that they probably got 1 point, and it was very, very ridiculous. But that's not what it's all about, bro. What it's about is you don't know what's going to happen with the Bears towards the end of this season. If they're able to win out, it may be a situation where they could probably do something, but it all depends on, obviously, Green Bay and the Vikings. But the way that both of them are playing, I don't think they're going to make the playoffs. But that was very, very impressive to see that Trubisky at least holds some kind of initiative within himself to say, you know what, I'm not just going to lay down here, dog. I'm going to fight. And, at the end of the game, before it gets picked off and it's over, it's a situation where you're looking at the Bears defense and you're like, Khalil Mack, are you serious? You know what I'm saying? Like, even though the play that he almost had a sack on, they called the guy for holding, Blau was able to escape him, Blau, whatever his name is, and it was very, very ridiculous. And yeah, granted, you could say a rookie was outplaying Trubisky, blah, 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 but throughout the entirety of the game, I think this is his first 300 game for a while, and you got to understand something, right? Initially going into the season, we thought that the Bears could do a lot better. Why? Primarily because of their defense. So it wasn't like we were expecting Trubisky to be Joe Montana. You know what I'm saying? You guys get the reference of the joke from the movie. What was that, Waterboy? But anyway, don't worry about it. If you're too young and you didn't see Waterboy, it doesn't really matter. We're getting pretty much what we thought we would. It's just for the fact that the Bears' defense, in my opinion, is more of a letdown than Trubisky. Because if they were still holding teams to 7, the Bears would have won a lot more games. So that's just the honest truth. A lot of teams don't expect their quarterbacks to do much, and the Bears is one of them. You know what I'm saying? And when the defense is playing like that and you're barely winning a game, it's going to be pretty tough to go through it because you don't have that prototypical quarterback that can drop back and throw dots. But Trubisky made plays when they counted, and you got to give him credit for that. As far as the Lions, they're completely injured. I don't know where they're going. Obviously, it doesn't really matter what's going on with them. They're pretty much done. But it's a very, very sad thing to see a team so decimated by injuries and still be able to fight right before it. Right up until the end of the game, because now you start to question: do you go back to Stafford? If this guy Blau can go out there and do this stuff, do you go back or do you try to make a move? Because honestly, the kid looked pretty good. Playing against the Bears defense, even though it's not what we thought it would be. I thought he was very, very impressive, just personally for myself. So that's a lot of things that have to be answered going forward in the near future. And when we jump into the Cowboys game, I know you guys want to fire Jason Garrett. I think that's what Jerry Jones said as he was leaving the box, like just fire him. But are they going to do it? We've been saying this for years. It looks like the team is just not motivated to do anything. Dak Prescott continues to show us that he does not want to get a huge contract. Ezekiel Elliott, in some cases, looked like he's satisfied that he got paid, and he's just like, yo, you know what? Let me go out here and just do whatever. I don't know. Maybe the old line being garbage or not as good as they used to be. There's so many different factors that's going into it. But the thing about it right now is that they still can win the division because the Eagles are terrible, the Giants suck, and the Redskins, I don't know what they're doing. So, it's not as bad as everybody is thinking that it is because they're still going to make the playoffs. So with that being said, what do you do as Jerry Jones? Because as much as you want your team to win, they only really need to win in the playoffs. So these losses don't really mean anything because I just watched Carson Wentz stink it up recently. So it's not like, it's another team in the division that's going to, lights out like, bro, let's win this. Then nobody's doing anything. So as long as nobody's doing anything and making any run for any distance between the win-loss, what does that mean? It means the Eagles got to just, keep up the pace a little bit. So again, looking at Jason Garrett on the sideline, he was really, really sweating during this loss. The Bills really, really embarrassed them. Josh Allen went out there and was just toying with them the entire game. It was just so embarrassing. And, the impulse is this guy, Jason Garrett, needs to go. And I agree. he should be fired. Like, it's not like he shouldn't be, but Dak made some very, very horrible throws in that game that cost them a lot of different possessions. He didn't make great reads. Amari Cooper's doing like gymnastics, getting hit and upended and acting like, I don't know what to say about this team. It's just very, very disappointing, and I don't know if it's one easy fix. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you fire Jason Garrett, like what is that going to fix really? Because is Dak going to be more accurate if you fire Jason Garrett? You know, is Ezekiel Elliott going to run like he did when he was a rookie if you fire Jason Garrett? There's a lot of things that I was thinking about, but ultimately you just get upset and you want change, and their offense is so predictable and they're not doing anything they're supposed to do. And then because Jerry Jones said whatever he said, you know, earlier in the year, now, you know, this guy Jason Garrett wants to go for it every single time on fourth down, and they're very, very rarely getting it. It's just a very, very stupid situation that's going on ultimately. And I really honestly don't know how this is going to end up, but I really don't expect Jason Garrett to be back next year, regardless of what you guys think. You know, Jerry Jones is going to have to decide, like, do I want to be the head coach or do I want to be the owner and actually win games and get a coach in there that can handle business? Either way, the way the Dallas Cowboys are set up right now, we can obviously say that, you know, it doesn't look really good for them. It was just, like, the Bills are for real. I told you guys that their defense is very, very good, but just the way that they destroyed everything that the Cowboys were trying to do, it was very, very embarrassing, man. I know the Cowboy fans had to be very, very disappointed, but it is what it is, man. We'll see how it works out. But for me, firing Jason Garrett won't fix much. The Saints and the Falcons, I just want to say this. The Falcons had 2 games where I really apologized about, you know, saying Matt Ryan sucks and, you know, he's not that good of a quarterback. But he keeps showing me that he can really just, hold my beer, bro. Like, the guy's throwing picks and getting stiff-armed into the ground. Like, bro, what is he doing? I don't know what's going on exactly. Why is this guy so bad at the game? Bro, this guy is very, very bad at being a National Football League quarterback. Now, I know he has a lot of numbers and a lot of things that he's done, but since that MVP season, you know, like, what is he? It's sort of like this, right? When you debate something about Cam Newton, right, being an MVP, and then he went to the Super Bowl and didn't jump in the pile, what do you remember about Cam Newton? You remember about, you know, the most recent things that he's done. Even though he was injured, you remember that he couldn't throw the ball like 30 yards and he just looked ridiculous out there on the field. You see what I'm saying? Like, it's always like, what have you done for me lately, unless you have that Super Bowl ring? That's why Tom Brady still gets excuses when they don't play well. Like, Tom Brady hasn't really looked good, but the dude got 6 rings. You're like, all right, don't worry about it. It's Tom Brady. These guys don't really got rings. So it's a really, really bad thing. Matt Ryan is a really, really bad quarterback right now. And I know you guys are going to make excuses. You're going to say, oh, but he don't have this, he don't have that. It doesn't matter. He's making very, very bad reads, and he's getting punched in the face on, you know, Thanksgiving Day. Like, what is he doing? Like, dudes are running down the field, and he's just getting stiff-armed. Like, you got to not let that happen to you if you're a terrible quarterback. Like, you got to not get stiff-armed. Okay, you threw a pick, you suck, but you can't then also get stiff-armed while you're running full speed down the field. It just seemed very, very weird. But like I said, Dan Quinn, all these guys got to be fired. That Super Bowl, when you lose and you allow a comeback from 28-3, everybody involved with that needed to be fired for the team to kind of, you know, freshen up and move forward. The same thing with the Seattle Seahawks. I don't care how well they do. As long as Pete Carroll is still the head coach, they're not going to win the Super Bowl. Because it's like, you don't give the ball to Marshawn Lynch and you allow your offensive coordinator, Bevel, to do one of the dumbest play calls ever in the history of the game. That still lingers. Even though you got rid of the Legion of Boom, that guy is still there. It's the coach, and like, Bevel is gone, but Pete Carroll, as much as I like him as a coach, like, he's part of that situation, that stigma. So even this year with how well the Seahawks are playing, I still don't really feel that they'll win the Super Bowl. You know, it's just certain things that you can't overcome because of foolish decisions. Giving up a 28-3 lead. Matt Ryan needs to, like, bro, like I said, you can either get rid of Matt Ryan or Dan Quinn. What you going to do? You know what I'm saying? I would get rid of Dan Quinn because Matt Ryan could possibly do something in the future. But we'll see what happens with the Seahawks. Like, they could play as good as they want. I just feel that sometimes it's not fixable when really, really bad decisions are made and that same coach and personnel are still involved with that organization. That's just my thought. So if you wanted to know if I thought the Seahawks were going to win the Super Bowl, the answer is absolutely no. I want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you guys are enjoying your holiday. Be sure to subscribe. Download GmiasWorld Podcast on iTunes, Spotify, and iHeartRadio. Also available on Android. One love, guys.